very much. It's a pleasure to be here. An equal pleasure to have the opportunity to present the views of Energy Community. Energy Community is an organization that comprises 6 Western Balkan countries as members, and also Ukraine, Moldova, and Georgia. And Energy Community Secretariat, the institution that I'm representing today, has almost 20 years of experience in working with the region, with our partners, assisting them, and also monitoring the progress in terms of alignment with the EU policies and EU legislation in the field of energy, environment, and climate. So I would say that when in 2019 the European Green Deal was presented as the strategy of the European Commission, that became, of course, immediately a point of reference for our work. And there is one very important thing that resonates from that strategy that is very much valid for today's discussion, and that is that European Green Deal cannot be achieved if our partners from the EU neighborhood are not taken on board. And I think in the context of the current energy crisis, this is particularly important when we have a slightly distorted balance between the security of the supply, between competitiveness, affordability, and decarbonization. Let me then maybe very briefly give the more regional perspective on how we see the progress in the process. Let me recall maybe political commitments that are already on the table. First one from Sofia from 2020, there is a commitment of the countries to follow the climate neutrality path. That was reiterated under the decarbonization roadmap for the energy community from the last year. And very importantly, we are looking forward to have this December at our Ministerial Council the adoption of targets in the field of reduction of greenhouse gas emissions, increase use of renewables in energy mix, and energy efficiency until 2030. So these are the commitments. They're already there. We have a toolbox, legislative toolbox, which is gradually expanding legislation under the energy community. And this should be put into context of 2, I would say, very important work streams for green energy transition. First one is market liberalization. This is something that has been there already for years as a commitment of our partners. We are not yet there. However, I would say that importantly for the green transition, I would point to 2 key elements. First one is market design. Market design is friendly to renewable energy sources and measures in the field of energy efficiency. And here I'm talking both at the supply side and demand side. I think it's important to have this picture. And the second key issue here is the market integration at the regional level. Ideally, we are looking to finding a regional transition model for the whole region that would, on one hand, increase the bargaining power, of course, and on the other hand, leverage the, let's say, national deficiencies when it comes to attracting investments and when it comes to integrating, in the end, the region with the European market. This is very much important in light of also the legislative proposals that the EU is putting on the table, for example, concerning carbon border adjustment mechanism. The second key important work stream is, of course, decarbonization itself. And here let me point to 2 important elements. The first one is the governance of the process. We have quite sophisticated tools now on the table to be transposed and implemented by our partners. And the second important issue is the energy intensity of the economy. It's very often 2-3 times higher than the EU average. So I think there's a great potential in that aspect. And these 2 work streams that I mentioned, market liberalization and decarbonization, should be assessed against key gaps, challenges, which are there, which some of them are, of course, already mentioned. So let me refer to the main one, probably, which is the issue of modernization of the energy sector. Needless to say, we have, of course, a legacy of inefficient, carbon-intense, environmentally extremely unfriendly infrastructure, both line infrastructure, but of course, mostly I'm talking here about the issue of the coal phase-out. There's, of course, probably the biggest challenge of the energy transition in the region, and it is, of course, compounded significantly by the current crisis. So I think here there is a very strong need for EU support, additional to what is already there, and a structural approach to phasing out in a fast pace, which is, of course, additional problem of the process. Second gap, I may say, is what is very much the essence of the decarbonization policy and climate policies in EU, which is the carbon pricing. That is not a very, I would say, popular topic, of course, especially now, but it has to be put in context of market integration as a tool to create a level playing field. And also, it has significant potential in creating possible internal revenues for decarbonization. We have estimates in Energy Community Secretariat that I believe in 2021 around in the whole energy community, but that is to a large extent was the Balkans, that the avoided cost of carbon amounted to 3.8 billion euros. So this is a significant, of course, potential revenue. This has also to close the argument of the carbon border adjustment mechanism I mentioned in the context of market liberalization, but also carbon pricing is that key condition for the region to be exempted potentially from carbon border adjustment mechanism when it comes to the electricity. Last but not the least, if not actually the first very big challenge, is the challenge of making the green transition just. This is the very popular slogan, I would say, just transition, but it has to be put in practice, and both in the EU and both in the region. Just transition is about social inclusivity. It's about not creating winners and losers of the process, and I think that applies both to interaction between the EU and the countries in the region, it applies also to the structural approach to coal regions, which are regions that are dependent on mining and on the coal business as such, and of course ordinary citizens. And again, here I think specifically currently, with regard to necessary short-term liquidity resilience measures, this issue should be put at the very heart of the process. I will stop here. Thank you.